I found there's very big lack of training. It's like they'll hire people and then they won't train them and then they expect them to be great. But when you give people real good scripts and real good accountability and work with them and role play with them and give them hope and coach them, and actually lead them, then they will perform better. But I think a lot of people as a business owner, they're so busy doing all the other 50 things when I'm like, the most valuable use cases of your time are threefold: recruiting top talent. Number 2 is I'm training that talent. And number 3 would be leading from the front, having that wherewithal to delegate some of your $10 an hour tasks and actually go in the field and sell shit.
What is up, Entrepreneur DNA? Welcome back to an incredible episode. I'm super excited about this episode for one big reason. I have one of the, and arguably, and actually Google has told us that one of the top salespeople in the country. He is also a best-selling author, and he focuses his time on entrepreneurs on sales, leadership, and recruiting. I got Sam Taggart here, people. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man? Fun
Dude,
to connect.
Let's go. It's funny. We have I lean into 4 basic principles: mind, body, and connections, and then it leads to your business. That connection piece, what we have, it's funny that we were just talking offline, right? Like our mutual friend, we've circled each other for years without really knowing it.
I know. And it's fun to connect. That's all. I was like, hey, the best way, like somebody texted me, they're like, hey, can you go to lunch? And I was like, no. But if somebody said, can you be on my podcast? I'd probably say yes. And honestly, it'd probably be a deeper, cooler conversation anyway. You know what I mean? So like,
There's no doubt.
It's such a fun way to kind of really talk meaningful conversation without being like, why would I just go to lunch? Like there's some power in that, but with busy schedules, this makes more sense.
Well, for sure. And I'm in Florida and you're in Utah, right? So,
yep.
Dude, let's get into, first of all, I want to talk about your book. Your book is phenomenal. It's really leans into, you need to go out there and work as a salesperson. And if you're relying on a good economy, I've been preaching this for years in the real estate space, real estate investors specifically. The last 10 years has been amazing. If you are not doing well in real estate in the last 10 years, then you weren't breathing, right? But now that the going has gotten a little more challenging, this leans into your book, right? Eat What You Kill, right? Like you got to go work for it. So let's talk a little bit about your book, dude.
Yeah, so it's called Eat What You Kill, Become a Sales Carnivore. And basically the premise is I felt like the sales world, doesn't matter if you're doing software or, every business has sales. But the problem is there's salespeople, whether they're in person, B2B, B2C, over the phone, Zoom, they're all like, I look at the majority of businesses and they have herbivore businesses, meaning as they're very codependent on the marketing, the leads, the funnel. And many of them have never really fully experienced a 1099 carnivore, eat what you kill, no dependent type of sales culture. And the sucky part is a fish doesn't know it's in water, and, until it's out of water, right? Like, and I come from a culture where I never got a lead. I knocked doors since I was 11 years old. Like if I wanted something, I knew how to go knock, never got paid a W-2, never got paid a salary, never got paid anything I just created wealth. And I look at the company I was a top rep at, 3,000, 1099, multi-billion, multi-exits, publicly traded, Vivint. They never, none of us got a lead. You know what I mean? There was just an army of foot soldiers that went out and knocked. And it created, made a billionaire out of the owner. And anyway, long story short, the people in today's economy are just getting more and more soft, and they never learned the skill of resilience. They never learned the skill of a cold call. They never learned the skill of, the pound the stone over and over and over and over again. And they're lacking those skill sets, yet they're trying to run a business, or they're trying to, they're wondering, why are my sales guys not doing anything? It's like, because you gave them 2 appointments on the calendar and then they twiddled their thumbs and that's it.
It.
That's all they'll do. And
yeah.
Once an herbivore, kind of always an herbivore. So it's like, how do you shift and change your sales culture internally? And so this is like the Bible for that. It's got 9 sections from mindset down to body language, down to prospecting, to pitching, to presenting, closing, objection handling. It goes through every concept of the sales cycle for creating more of a carnivore.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, funny enough, a lot of people know my story, so I'll keep it short. I graduated UCLA, pretty prominent college, right? Good
And
degree.
not Asian? That's impressive.
University of Caucasians, lost among Asians, baby. You know it. You know it. So, listen, I've never used it. You know what my first real world job was after college?
What?
Door knocking.
Heck
Business to business door knocking. You may know the company called Sidcore. Have you ever heard of Sidcore?
yeah, I've consulted some of their teams and
Right. So if you've met one of their senior, I forgot the rankings now, but senior whatever, Matt Osborne, really real dear friend of mine, my first mentor, right? He took me under his wing and helped me understand it. And the reality is I wouldn't trade that for the world, because those 2 years that I did that, I learned so much. And you talked about it, the mindset. Like every morning we had to be in there by 7:45, and we're going through skill sets and mindsets. Every day the top leader would be able to go up there and give an analogy of what life is like and how we can use that analogy in the real world. I mean, there's just so much that you get from it, and being able to hear no 100 times so you can get one yes a day. That was the model. I needed to go hear no 100 times so I could get my one yes. And unfortunately, I caught pneumonia when the client moves you to a different state. I went to Boston. I'm a California boy, Sam. That winter, boy, door knocking, come on, man. It was 0 degrees some days, right? I had tights, I had thermals, I had wool coats, I had wool suits. You couldn't get this California boy warm enough. Then I caught pneumonia, which launched my real estate career. But I'll tell you, that is incredible, dude. It's
that's a
just,
rite of passage. Like I
it
think,
is.
I listen. Like if you're a parent right now and you don't put your kids into door to door, whether it's in high school or that you don't promote that. I think a lot of parents are like, oh, you're talking to strangers, it's dangerous, or you're the scum of the earth, you're a salesman, and I'm like, that is what created a financial security or freedom in your inside.
Yeah.
It gave you confidence that you're like, "I could go do anything. If I could knock doors for 2 straight years, bro, I could go do X." You know what I mean? Like, if I could do this, and I think many people rob the opportunity for that development from a young age or are too prideful to even step into that.
Yeah. It's crazy because I still can use the four. So we were taught, I literally say this to my sales team, there's 4 levels of salesmanship, right? Or there's 4 qualities of a good salesperson. You have to use indifference, you have to use fear of loss, you have to use Jones effect, and you have to use sense of urgency. And if you
Mm,
can use all 4 of those points, this is what I learned. I swear to God, I still to this day talk about it.
so good.
An expert salesperson, a Sam Taggart or Justin Colby, we can use all 4 of those in one sales cycle. You would be able to consider yourself an expert at it, because it takes a talk track to be able to go be indifferent, talk about Jones effect, have a fear of loss, and have a sense of urgency, which are totally different things. A lot of people think that they're the same. They're totally different. Um, and so, dude, it's incredible to just think about all that kind of stuff.
Love that. Yeah,
Yeah. As many of you know, I'm constantly on the move, juggling multiple businesses, traveling, and ensuring I get my morning workouts in. Staying fresh isn't just a preference, it's a necessity. But let's face it, after back-to-back meetings, juggling 2 kids at home, and the hustle and bustle of everyday life, body odor can become an issue. But here's the deal. Mando has revolutionized how I stay fresh. This isn't just another deodorant, it's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower alone with soap. My favorite scent, bourbon leather, it's fresh, is subtle, and doesn't clash with my cologne. And I was surprised by how well the solid stick works, even after an intense morning workout. Mando's starter pack is perfect for the new customer. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or a deodorant wipe, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners and new customers, you get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% of your starter pack. Use code Colby at shopmando.com. That is SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from the head to the toe with Mando.
It's been fun to, write a book and kind of put your 20 years of life work into 300 pages and, promote that and see what's on the other side of that. And I've written other books. This is my fourth book, but this one was like to me the anthem of like my life's work. So it's exciting to kind of get it out there. So if you're listening, you go get a copy on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or something and, give it to your team. At the end of the day, like if you're an owner and you're a business, like, you know what I mean? I think of Justin as like, I'm training my sales team. I'm like, if I could give them one book that's like, read this book, I promise you, it's like, nobody's going to complain about somebody that's cold DMing, cold calling, going through your old data, willing to go hit the pavement. You know what I mean? Like that is like the golden goose for any sales team. You know what I mean? Most managers and owners are bitching about, dude, what, like, you're not performing or why aren't you selling? And it's like becoming more and more of a lost art. And so it's like, can we reactivate this whole, purest form of selling, which is where I come from and you started, is like door to door. Like, I mean, it's just, people are like, people still do that. I'm like, yeah, very much so. It's actually a growing industry and, it's just becoming more and more sophisticated. So
It's incredible. You're just talking about it briefly, right? And in the real estate space where I really am, the door-to-door world is such an undervalued asset, right? You're looking for people who need to sell their home. And if you just walk by a home that looks like no one's mowed the lawn in 6 years and it looks like no one's painted the house in 22 years, do you think there's some motivation there?
yeah, so here's what's crazy, Justin. So I spoke. I don't know if you know Cody Sperber. Him and I were
Of
buddies,
course.
and we did an event together. And anyway, he's got all these wholesalers there, and he's telling me about this technology. It's called Drive for Dollars, and he goes out and has people take photos and uploads it to the system. And there's all sorts of these data, for pre-foreclosures, distressed property data that people are paying so much money for. And I'm like, how about like knock for dollars? Like, if you're gonna drive all the way there and you're gonna take a photo and you're there, like walk up. And like I promise you, this pitch, which is going to sound so terrible, is better than your photo. And it's, hey, you want to sell your house? And you could get the door slammed, and it took you 15 seconds. But at the end of the day, that was the worst pitch in the world, but it was better than your effing photo you sent.
Yeah, dude.
Because I had their data, but I'm like, now I could teach you the psychology of an amazing pitch to that, but it was better than no pitch. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and he's like, well, how do I get people to do it? I'm like, what?
You just don't make it an option. We just talked about the
It's
company I worked for, Sidcore. There's not an option.
not an option.
There's no sending DMs for Sidcore. Matt wasn't like, hey, Justin, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to train you on how to send DMs. That wasn't the business. The only option was to go outside and knock doors all day long.
100%.
You train them by making it the only option, right? And so now let's grab it. By the way, get this book on Amazon. This guy is world class, literally world class. You do how many events a year? D2D Con. You just had one recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we just had around 3,000 people. I mean, we do about 2 to 3 events. Like tomorrow, I have a sales manager boot camp teaching sales managers how to go run their teams for 2 days. And then next week, I'm in Dallas on a sales boot camp. The next week, I'm in Florida on another sales boot camp. We host events 3-4 times a month regularly where I'll speak or I'll go and actually create an opportunity, whether it's sales, business management, or recruitment. And I think a lot of people always struggle with this formula of like, I don't know how to find any sales guys. Like, it's just me, right? They're a business owner and they're just like, really, like I spoke at a pressure washing and Christmas lighting convention last week in Florida. And most of these guys, I'm like, raise your hand if you're the sales guy and the business owner. And like 90% of the room, there's like 300 people. And I'm like, oh, you guys are just it. You are the effing business. So like, congratulations. And I'm like, well, number one is we got to recruit some people.
Yeah.
2 is we got to train and manage those people. And everybody's like, well, I can't afford them, or I don't have the leads, or I'm like, I'm not talking about leads, bro. I'm talking like make them go eat what they kill.
Yeah.
And everybody's bottleneck is if I had more leads, then I could go recruit more people. And I'm like, well, if you had carnivores, then you don't need leads. See where I'm going at this?
I totally do. So for those entrepreneurs right now, they're like, Sam, I get it. But how do I motivate them to go do it? What's your answer to that?
That's what I'm teaching tomorrow for 2 days.
Okay.
It's all about proper sales management. And so kind of think of it as like threefold. You have competition, which is this free energy. So it's how you facilitate. So I just launched one for my internal sales team. I got like 15 guys and we sell coaching, right? And we launched March Madness. So I put them in teams. We got like 6 teams, an SDR, an AE, and an expert all on a team. We create these pods. And every day I'm posting the scorecard. And I'm saying who's winning, who's losing, what's the prizes, shit talking, calling out, doing a game out of this.
Gamifying it, totally.
Gamifying is like number 1. Number 2 is accountability. Is you got to trim the fat. You got to have clear pips, performance reviews. You got to have call outs and daily huddles.
What are pips? Just for the
performance reviews, basically. Like
Yep.
you put them on a performance plan where if they don't hit X, then they're fired. And I think a lot of people, they keep all this fat around and they have crappy salespeople, but it's called addition by subtraction. When you start to cut the bottom 20%, your top 20% actually performs better.
Yep.
So today I'm firing a guy. Sadly last week I fired a guy, and and it hurt. Like, obviously I have an emotional heart, but sometimes I start to now be like, good, my team will do better now, because they know I'm willing to hang a man to show them that don't be an idiot and suck, because you're giving permission to suck to everyone else if you have no accountability.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Where a lot of people in sales cultures, they almost are like afraid to call people out. They're afraid to like hold people like to quotas and numbers, and like, dude, this is a sales culture. Does the NBA just let Joe Schmoes on there in the court? No. And then number 3 is training. And I think most people, and so we're a sales training company, right? So we have thousands of videos in different categories and different coaches, and we do all sorts of cool stuff. But like, I found there's very big lack of training. It's like they'll hire people and then they won't train them, and then they expect them to be great. But when you give people real good scripts and real good accountability and work with them and role play with them and give them hope and coach them, and actually lead them, then they will perform better. But I think a lot of people as a business owner, they're so busy doing all the other 50 things, when I'm like, the most valuable use cases of your time are threefold. Recruiting top talent. I'm always recruiting. Number 2 is I'm training that talent, meaning I'm pouring into those people so they pour into me, and that's multiplication. I think most business owners are like, I'm the only guy that can sell. And I'm like, well, what if you develop 10 of you? Now you just multiplied you. And number 3 would be if they, actually sold as a business owner, where most of these business owners, I got off a call yesterday, a guy started a new roofing company, split from his partner. And I'm like, he wanted to pay me on a profit share. And I looked at this new kid and I'm like, you just started a business 30 days ago. You split up. How many are you going to sell this year? And he's like, what do you mean? I mean, thought of that. I'm like, you just started a company. You just said your overhead is X. You have not sold any, and you have no sales guys. And you want to hire my sales guys to come and be your interim sales leader and CRO as a transition. So are you asking my guy to be all the sales? So
Right.
I said, right now, my question is, how many are you selling tomorrow? Because you just keep calling it death by business cards, where you've spent so much time on the shirts, the hats, all these things of just like, but how many are you selling? And I'm like, you need to hire out or give your uncle, because his uncle's sitting there and he's like, yeah, I might come over with him and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, how about uncle? You do everything but sales. And you, bro, are 9 to 9 in the field until this thing makes hella money. And what happens is you start to attract and recruit your people. But I need you out there in the field. And he was like, well, and I was like, then I'm not a good fit for you, bro, because this isn't going to work. This is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And so I think that leading from the front, having that wherewithal to delegate some of your $10 an hour tasks and actually go in the field and sell shit.
Yeah. The challenge I think all of us have, right, is what you're talking about. Even if I'm willing to do it, right? How do I get others to have the same passion, desire, motivation, be inspired to go do it? And there's usually a breaking point. I actually talk about it more in a leadership form, right? And you're the expert in recruiting, leadership, and sales, but the leadership part is tough. And the reason why is people don't work that muscle out enough, right? They just think they have it just because. Because maybe they're a good manager, but it is not the same thing as being a good leader.
And I have a sales manager playbook. It's like 101 pages. And like, I think page 6 is literally managing versus leading.
Yeah.
And what's hard is, and then there's selling, most great salespeople actually make terrible managers.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not meticulous. They're
But
not
the
attention.
owner of the companies take the sales guy and make him a manager.
Yeah.
It's the
And so
craziest shit.
and leading, a great sales guy could be a good leader. I was always a really good leader. But if I didn't have an assistant manager, meaning I was the sales manager for many years, and then I was a VP of sales at a big solar company or whatever, and I found if I did not have a sales manager, like an assistant manager that did area management, lead management, rep one-on-ones, onboarding, training, I was like the pace setter. I was the inspirer. I was the leader. I was the number one, number two guy in the company always, so that if I can do 10 in a day, you could do 2. Come on, let's go. And I said, throw them in my car and I'll ride out to area with them and I'll just fire them up all day and like show them what's up. And then I'll give them feedback. But for me to actually sit down and have empathy and like work with somebody and have, you know what I mean, that patience, I'm like, if you don't get it, like, come on, let's go.
Next.
And I think that's a detriment. So it's one, understanding the balance between that. You know, I think of the military drill sergeant, that's a manager, right? And what's weird is I could never be managed like that. That's why I didn't go into the military. I'd go into hell. Like, it would be like, are you kidding me? You're going to yell at me all day and tell me exactly what to do and say. And people willingly sign up for this. And I'm like, wait a minute. They're asking for true accountability, being told what to do. Tell me exactly where to be and where to, like, most people, believe it or not, need that.
Yeah.
Badly.
Totally.
But you are over here as an entrepreneur being like, if that was me, I'd kill myself. Yet now there's the disconnect of you're not managing your people, meaning daily accountability, monitoring everything they do, tell them exactly where to be and when to do it. You know what I mean? Like exactly the management side, hence why your team is underperforming.
Yeah. Yeah, that management and leadership is tricky, and then goes down to, I think what you highlighted is really important for most people. They need to set the pace, right? Like as the owner, you can't be the guy who has his feet on the desk. Now, there may be a season that you can get there, but probably not in the first 5 years of business. So like the story you just told me about the new roofing company, I'm like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you kept it together so well.
Well, I was yelling at the guy. Like and I'm like, you've already paid me for my mastermind like 60 grand, and then you just split up, and then you just want to pay me to be like a fractional CRO or my team. And we do that. Like we come in and step in and actually give A players as an interim. But I'm like, not on a profit deal with just you, dude. Like what is this?
Right.
And I was like, you're the door knocker. He left his dad's company. So let's just like break this down. He left his dad's company that his dad's company hadn't grown for 20 years. He's a local roofer out of Houston. And his dad's like, hey, I want to bring you on as a partner. He was there for like a year and he wanted to do door knocking. He wanted to implement door knocking. He wanted to grow this thing. I guess there was friction with him and his dad because it was like, hey, you don't believe in this door knocking thing and I do. So I'm going to go start my own thing. So now he's a month in. And I'm like, you just left your dad's because you believed in this door knocking concept, yet you're now not willing to door knock, and you asked for a $300 grant, and or you're going and raising capital, and you've got an overhead that's already plus 80 grand a month, and you're in your first month, and I'm over here like, this is a recipe for disaster, bro. I said, cut all of your effing overhead and just go sell your first 10 jobs.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, just go make money.
Go make money.
Too often owners, the business owner thinks they should be in an owner seat. One of the bigger mistakes, dude, I'll be totally open about that, is I was running a business at a high level that I felt like I could take a back seat and put my feet up. And guess what happened to my business?
Crumbles.
Right? Is they were maintaining for a while, but they damn sure weren't growing. And until you are at a level, like, I mean, I guess the thing I would even tell you, look at the people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett. They still are in their business, people. It may look a lot different than when he started Tesla or when he started PayPal or when he started, making investments if you're Warren Buffett. It may look a lot different, but they're in their business. And anyone who is making less than $10 million a year and feels like they shouldn't be in their business at an integral level, I believe is doing it wrong. They still might be able to make $10 million a year, but look at what you're talking about. You're running a multiple 10 million, you're running an 8-figure business, and you're still in your business, speaking at your events, building your sales team, running your sales meeting. Like, I know your schedule because it took pulling teeth to get you onto the episode, right? Like, you're not fucking sitting around on the beach. But that's what it takes.
I was there literally training at 9 o'clock last night, my sales guys. Like, I was literally sitting there with my sales team saying, like, I know that this guy has a lot of potential. He was there. I had 3 sales guys that stayed till 9 p.m. And I was like, I'll stay as long as they're willing to stay because I don't get that precious time usually during my day to actually like sit with these guys and coach them. And this guy was like, I know his family. He's not making the money he needs to make. He's got all the energy. He's willing to work the hours. And he's got the potential. I just like, but nobody's sitting there working with the guy. And like, you know how much it meant to him, me trying to freaking lock down this last minute deal that he was Hail Marying, like, and I'm sitting there like piping him, but not trying to take over. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, that will go a long way for that guy.
Yeah.
And he will be a loyal soldier because I took the time just to have a conversation with the guy.
It's incredible when you actually pour into your people genuinely, and they'll be with you forever, right? There's something I talk about, like my manager's been with me for 10 years. Like, I'm able to retain a lot of people because I pour into them with genuine heart. And again, this is the breakdown of where leadership really goes, is because they just say, okay, go out there and make sales. And that's really not what the owner of the company really should be focusing on. And so that is the next pivot to where our conversation should go, which is, when you're talking about sales, what is the best format in your book that you have in your manuals that people should be leading with in the sales script? Everyone worries about scripts. Do you give a shit about scripts?
Yes, until you don't need to.
That's right.
And
I
so
agree.
I think here's a good example. So I paid like Myron Golden a lot of money to coach me on speaking. And he comes to my event, I do my speech, and he's like, that was so good because you're naturally so good. It's like you're too good with your winging it that it actually made you bad.
It's a detriment. Yeah, I get it.
And I was like, wow, what a kick to nuts. Because he's like, you're natural, like, and you think we get complacent because we have we see the wins, right? But he said, if you memorized your entire speech, I promise you'd get 2 times, 3 times the results. And so 2 years later, I finally humbled out and said, okay, I'll do it. And I, made over $1 million that speech. And, so it's like the difference between making 400 grand in a speech and over $1 million is me memorizing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's one sales pitch. And I only, I don't get as many shots on target as I did when I door knocked, but it's like, if you had a perfect, like so good down to the, how do I head nod and when do I head nod and down to when do I pause and ask the right question or when do I make a joke? Like, I know when I have to plant a question and when I have to plant a joke and when I have to ease it up and when I have to be silent. You know what I mean? Like, if you start to like really dial in a process that you could duplicate with your people, they're not going to naturally just know how to go wing that shit. Like, it's the consciously competent. And that's when I started to realize, like, I was always naturally really, really good. I was the number 1 rep of a multi-billion-dollar company, but like, I didn't know how to duplicate myself. And so my guys would get all frustrated and I get frustrated at them because like, I say what you say. I'm like, yeah, I say the same thing you did. Like, I was like, oh no, just work hard. Don't be an idiot. Like, that was my response, but they didn't like that response. And so I started to have to like, okay, let's build out frameworks and strategies. And I came up with different names like Inception Shovel or Intentional Loop, or, I built frameworks of sales training. And then I started seeing my rookies sell more than every other rookie team in the country. And I was like, oh, my guys are pound for pound better than everybody because I started to learn how to teach them. I started to build out scripts and I made a 17-step dance to my sales presentation. And I made them do the dance moves as they said it. Like, I'm like, it's all 17 steps. And it sounds like a lot, but I'm like, if you memorize it with dancing and a song, then you maybe remember it. And I said, don't effing skip these steps. So then it built into scripts to steps to now you can personalize it because you understand the psychology of why I built the script and why I built the steps the way I did.
Yeah. It's, there's a skill set that most of us have as leaders and it's innate. And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
It is our biggest benefit, but could be our biggest detriment because of it, because we don't have to. I'm similar to you in a lot of respects. I'll go up on stage and I can wing it for an hour and get a standing ovation and it's great. But I didn't have a script to that hour. It was kind of the fluid way I go about what the room needs, right? But Myron would probably light me up in a very similar way. He'd be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, great. That was awesome. But dude, you could have been so much better. Right. And so that is a challenge. And so I would tell everybody to really harness that if you're a business owner.
Well,
Go ahead.
my CRO has this principle, and he was the CEO of a $100 million company, and smart dude. And he,
Kind of.
yeah. So, good recruit, right? I'm all about go recruit smarter people than me.
There you
And
go.
he says, in his philosophy, my philosophy always go recruit A's. He's like, I don't want A's. He's like, it's not scalable. It's very hard to go recruit and sustain and build a scalable business on A players. He's like, I want B's and C's. To me, I was like, I don't want B's and C's. But he's like, if I can make my system so duplicatable, I can go hire way more B's and C's and train them to be, I can train a C and a B to just be pretty good. And I can make a duplicatable thing versus an A player is going to leave you and go start his own business. He's going to get poached. He's going to always ask for more, and he's going to be hard to manage.
Yep.
He's like, if I just say all you B's and C's are replaceable because I just have a funnel of B's and C's coming in and I know how to duplicate, he's like, that's a much better business model. And I was like, touche.
Well, and there's a way for them to level up,
Yeah.
right? So when you go get the A player,
they're loyal, they're leveling up with you, they're going to stick. You know what I mean?
yeah, that creates a stickiness. And talk a little bit about stickiness. I think that the only reason why I kind of had to bow out of the door to door is I literally caught pneumonia for 4 months. I mean, it was just the winter beat me, right? The door knocking didn't beat me, the winter beat me. But let's talk about stickiness, because it's funny. The people who make the most money in my organizations are the salespeople, but they're also the same people that try to leverage themselves out of being a salesperson. And especially the business owner. Ironically, in the real estate space, business owners are like, oh, I need 2 acquisition people and I need two disposition people. I'm like, so you need 2 people to negotiate your deal on the front end with the seller, and then you need 2 people to negotiate the deal on the back end with the buyers. So all the sales responsibility is out of your hands. Yeah, I need to do that. That's how I'm going to grow and scale. And okay, I get leverage. But how much are you going to pay yourself? Because your income right now is directly connected to the fact that you're holding these responsibilities. So where's that money going?
Yeah.
And
people don't realize that. So like this retention though, people, one, they don't actually understand their margins enough to build out a leadership growth path. And I tell people like Alex, I coached for years, right? And it's cool. He just had an acquisition with his roofing company and they went to 150 million. You know what I mean? Like really crushing it, right?
yeah.
And one of the things that I notice different when I coach Alex and listens versus most roofing guys is they would pay their reps like a 50% of profit, but there was no margin really for a manager, a regional manager, a vice president. You know what I mean? There is no. So what happens is you have 5,000 roofing contractors in Dallas alone because it's roof or owner to rep.
Yeah.
And there is no middle level management. So the second the rep wants to grow and develop, the progress plan is go start your own roofing company. And so they've just create more roofing companies than their competitors. And so you're never going to grow if that is your model. So if you don't build in and understand that it costs money to pay the salespeople, to pay the sales manager, you know what I mean, and develop that, because most people don't understand the economics of their business because they were the commission. So then they're like, oh, my business functions great when I'm 90% of the sales.
Right.
Because you're funding the business. But now when you have to fund a manager and the sales commission and the marketing spend, and most of your business is word of mouth and you didn't have a marketing budget, now you're really not a business. Does that make sense? And you've got to either up your price, you've got to take, you know what I mean? So it's understanding economics to go scale this thing.
Do you know a good friend of mine, Dustin Kakowski, out of Dallas, roofer?
That name sounds familiar. Maybe.
Yeah, you might. He's incredible. He's actually in that same space Alex was at with the acquisition. So he's like on that. He's like, dude, give me 60 days, bro. Give me some. I'm like, go get it, dog. Wow. Well, listen, guys, I think you guys can see by just what we're talking about the level that Sam plays at. And if you're in sales, by the way, if you're in business, you're in sales, let's just call out what it is. I know a lot of people think salespeople are slimy or whatever you want to call us. The reality, if you're in business, you're selling something, right? A service, a product, yourself. So get used to that. one of my friends, Dean Graciosi, who's actually going to be on the next episode, funny enough, he always said something. He said, if you're ashamed of what you're selling, you're always going to be bad at it. The best salespeople love and are passionate about the thing that they're selling. And if you can align yourself with that, and if you're a business owner listening to this and watching this, then align yourself with Sam. Go follow him on social media. Go get his book on Amazon. He's in the top 10 salespeople in the entire United States. You know, he's been coaching thousands and thousands of business owners to grow, scale, develop leadership, recruit in business. But attach yourself to the thing that you enjoy selling because you know it actually provides a value to whoever wants it, right? I don't care if it's cupcakes. That person that wants cupcakes, you better make good cupcakes because they want the good cupcake, right?
Yeah.
So, bro, I appreciate you coming on, man.
No, it means a lot, and thank you for your time, and those listening, you made it this far, so congratulations. Go
No doubt.
obviously subscribe if you haven't to his, and we hope to see you guys on future episodes and maybe at some event, and we're excited to hang, maybe we'll
Yeah, you got a couple events coming up, don't you? Don't you have talk about a couple events as this will come out within some of these event dates?
Yeah, so we have a sales boot camp, usually monthly. We have a business boot camp. So if anybody's like trying to grow a direct sales org, we talk recruiting, business strategy, pay, all that stuff. And they're intimate little boot camps, 40, 50 business owners in a room, sales manager boot camp. So we do kind of these boot camps or 2-day just sprints where we just go into the tactical stuff. Like it's no fluff. There's no David Goggins speech. It's just like, we have these playbooks. Here's the systems in order to implement so that you get results. And we've done, 8 years of those and over 1,000+ businesses and 50 different industries that, you know what I mean? So it's just like, we'll see this rinse and repeat. And we're like, we just know how to get people results like quick, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'd come hang out.
Come and where can they find? Should they just go follow you on Instagram or go to your?
Yeah, the dddexperts.com, and then you go to events. But I'd reach out, you know what I mean? Like schedule a call with one of my experts and they can do like a business audit, or they can, work with you on like, okay, my sales team sucks. What do we need to do to like give this a facelift? And that's usually when I make the phone calls is like, yeah, our marketing spend's not going as far as it should. I don't even know if my sales guys are good or not. You know what I mean? Those are the phone calls we always get. And I'm like, let me get my experts on them and let's figure out how to help you guys.
The D2D expert.
Experts.com. Yep.
Go to the website, check out Sam, get his book on Amazon, Eat What You Kill. This guy is a beast, but he's a sweetheart. He cares. He has a bleeding heart. He wants to help you guys. So I appreciate you coming on here, brother. And if this helped you guys in sales, make sure you share it with at least 2 of your friends so everyone you know knows Sam. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
Appreciate it, Justin.